I'm here on behalf of the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group, a coalition of 45 Canadian organizations. ICLMG was founded in 2002 to serve as a watchdog on the impacts of Canada's national security and anti-terrorism laws on civil liberties. Our coalition has observed with distress the increase in hate-based violence across Canada over the past several years. We believe greater measures must be taken to address it, but such measures must be targeted and specific and must not unduly impact civil liberties or charter rights, including those of the very communities they are meant to protect. Unfortunately, several measures in Bill C-9 fail that test. We share the concerns of 37 signatories of an open letter led by the Canadian Civil Liberties Association that identified substantial problems in the bill and called for it to be withdrawn. Today, I'd like to focus on one particular area, the provisions in Clause 4 that would create a new offense of willfully promoting hatred by displaying certain symbols in public. These provisions pose a significant threat to freedom of expression by granting broad and discretionary powers to police and by basing the determination of which symbols are included on a flawed terrorist listing process. We also believe that the new provisions covered are redundant. The new offense states, in part, everyone commits an offense who willfully promotes hatred against any identifiable group by displaying, in any public place, a symbol principally used by or associated with a listed terrorist entity, B, the Nazi Hakenkreuz or SS bolts, or C, a symbol that so nearly resembles one of those that is likely to be mistaken for one. The government has stated that simple display of an impugned symbol would not violate the law without additional evidence of intent. However, this is not clear from the drafting. Instead, the plain reading would be that the simple public of display would be considered willful promotion of hatred, going further than existing anti-terrorism law, which does not treat the mere display of a symbol associated with a terrorist entity as an offense, precisely because doing so would violate the Charter. If the government's intent is that the offense requires display in the context of willfully promoting hatred, the bill must be amended, at minimum, by changing by to while. But even with such a change, we do not believe that the offense should be adopted. The willful promotion of hatred is already a criminal code offense under Section 319(2), and the government has confirmed that this includes the use of symbols as part of a pattern of evidence. It is difficult to see why a new offense is necessary. Focusing on symbols used rather than intent risks chilling free expression. This brings me to our third concern, vagueness. The wording asks police officers to make discretionary, on-the-spot determinations of what constitutes a symbol, quote, associated with, or, quote, used by any of the 90 listed terrorist entities, which we understand could include both words and slogans. A clear example is the ongoing dispute over whether symbols associated with Palestinian human rights protests are hateful or terrorist-linked. Already there are calls for police to make more arrests at protests on the grounds that symbols in support of Palestinian self-determination are associated with terrorist entities. Under this legislation, police would be further called upon to determine, mid-protest, not only whether a symbol is associated with a listed entity, but whether it is being used to willfully promote hatred, and whether it sufficiently, quote, resembles a prohibited symbol. Would Arabic writing or certain colors on a sign be enough to arrest someone if an officer believes it closely resembles imagery associated with a listed entity? This would apply across all listed entities and could affect protests from a broad range of communities, raising serious concerns about guilt by association and the stigmatization of entire movements. These problems could also be compounded as a terrorist entities list continues to be expanded under future governments, including, for example, through growing calls to list anti-fascist organizations as terrorist entities. Given the severe potential for overreach and the stigma attached to a hate crime accusation, we believe this provision will create an unacceptable chill on free expression and dissent. Finally, basing criminal offenses on the terrorist entities list itself is unacceptable. Listings rely on secret evidence and unaccountable executive decisions with inadequate avenues for challenge or redress and can be political in nature. New criminal offenses should never be built on such a foundation. This is one of many concerns with Bill C-9, including, as my colleagues earlier have expressed, regarding the proposed intimidation and obstruction offenses and the removal of the good faith religious defense. We believe the bill should be withdrawn and the government's approach revisited. We urge you and your Senate colleagues to address these concerns. I look forward to your questions.